That's absolutely brilliant. I might talk about that later a bit more. Okay, put your blog post on there or wherever, share it with Gary, and you could win that Kindle. Okay, so thank you very much. Over to Cicely. Thank you.
Just before I get started, and I'm waiting for the mic and some batteries, always important. I do be having my head in the garden doing activity, and it should look like this. I think my fabulous, wonderful helpers have handed it out. Is anybody missing one before I get going? All right, great. We're waiting on technology. All right, so my name is Cicely Alsbury, and I'm a teacher here at Tavistock College. I teach science, psychology, and health and social care. And my presentation today, I gave it a bit of a title, which I hope you think will be fitting by the end of it, which is one of my most favorite quotes, which is called "The only constant is change." Now, as you can tell, I am clearly not from the Southwest of England. I am from Canada. I'm Toronto specifically, and I found that as I was growing up, throughout high school, university, everything that I was doing was centered around teaching in one way, shape, or form. So I taught swimming lessons, I coached swimming, I taught Sunday school. When I was at university, I also helped out with our EAL program there as well. And I was always constantly drawn by it. But when I finished school, I ended up in industry. Yeah. And from industry, I felt drawn back to something more. I needed something more. And I actually landed in good old Hull. Yeah. Great North up there, home of the Tigers. And I did a master's up there and then got back into teaching. And while I was up there and I was doing my teacher training, I ended up doing a program called TEEP. And TEEP is one of those ways that they try to be able to set up your lesson plans. And one of the things that really, really struck me about this was the fact that they tried to be able to have teaching and learning techniques that allow the students to be able to do the learning and to teach each other. And it was something that really stuck with me. Now I met a boy, moved down south because of the good old Navy, came to Tavistock College and got introduced to cooperative learning, which has just stuck through me since I've been here. It's been an absolute lifesaver, maybe, in my lessons. And it's something that I'm really, really proud of to be able to use. Really proud to be able to use some of those tools. And again, I found similarities with this training that I originally did, this TEEP training, where I found that students were able to teach each other and share that knowledge with one another. Now, I recently came across this, both within my classroom from another teacher, as well as at the Teachers Research Conference that we held last week, which is that actually, when we learn the most by teaching others. So this has stuck with me, and one of the teaching and learning techniques that I like to use in my classroom, both doing a little A-level psychology and actually doing GCSE science and teaching some of those subjects, is something that I call an artist's easel, which is on your handout. Now, I've been lucky enough to be able to get on a professional doctorate of education program down at Plymouth University, and so I thought I'd mix it up by not only doing a teaching and learning technique, but also introducing some research that I'm doing about something I call education policy turning. So you should be hopefully able to find a partner. Now, as you found a partner, you'll notice that your sheet is double-sided. Now, on your sheet of information, you have two different pieces of writing that I've done. Now, what I'd like you to be able to do is you, by yourself without your partner, are going to read your information. And this is the tricky part. You're going to make this information your own by putting it only into pictures or numbers. No words, just pictures or numbers. You're making it meaningful for you. By making it meaningful for you, it will help you to remember it. Now, once you and your partner are both done, you're going to casually take your sheet, fold it over, so they can only see your pictures. Now your pictures are your memory cues, so not there for your partner to be able to go, oh, you drew a stick man, well done, okay? It's just for you. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use your pictures to teach the person next to you about the piece of writing that you've just read. Are you ready? Sorry? There's two different ones. There's two different pieces of writing. So with your partner, you choose different pieces of writing and then draw your pictures to your piece of writing and then teach the person next to you. There you go, there you go. And a hush falls over the crowd. If you and your partner are ready and you've done your drawing, fold your papers over so you can only see your pictures and start teaching the person next to you. What have you learned so far? Ladies and gentlemen, can I just stop you there? I know some of you haven't finished, and I do apologize. We are just a little bit quick short on time right now, but I'm just going back to this slide here, okay? Now, meeting offsite criteria is always on our list, and every single person in that room was engaged. You were reading, you were making it your own. You then had to be able to turn around to the person next to you, and you were responsible for teaching them that separate new piece of information, which relates back to these cooperative values. Okay, it relates back to the fact that you want every single person in that class to feel valued. You want every single person in that class to be engaged, to be doing an activity and following through with that and being able to be responsible and learn with that information. So I hope you'll be able to use this to your own advantage. Just for reference, the 2 pieces of writing that I'm working on right now, one of them specifically is looking at our new performance-related pay policies and those quick policy changes that we've all just experienced. As teachers here, I'm sure, and I hope that you can relate to the fact that we do get yearly upon year policy changes that we have to be able to keep up to. And really, is that making a difference to our practice and trying to be able to investigate that. And specifically, I'm looking at these effects at a conference in Denmark, so follow me on Twitter. Keep me updated. Email me if you want to be able to have that resource. I'm happy to be able to send it out just as a template so that you can use it yourselves. And I hope you enjoyed this fun teaching and learning technique, guys. Thanks.
Such enthusiasm every time. Mark and I just realised that Teacher Meet Devon is trending on Twitter. So out of the people what they're talking about the most in the UK at the moment, us, which is amazing. I've got a few tweets here. One from Simon Johnson. Hello, Simon, who says, I'm watching Teacher Meet Devon with an ice cream in my garden. The power of the internet, which is amazing. I won't tell you some of the other tweets at the moment that's on there. Anyway, we are traditionally, as teachers, running behind. Apologies. If you're eating an ice cream in your garden, it's fine. If you're in here, it's not. It's about 110 degrees. So I would now, when I just change the screen, like to move things forward with Kate. Kate was a little bit nervous. I don't think she's done this a lot before when I told her there'd be lots of people watching. So please, be kind. Big round of applause, please. Woo!
Hello. Sorry, I'm very nervous, but it'll be fine. What I'm talking about is a little bit more kind of curriculum-based than perhaps ideas in the classroom, but hopefully it's something that you can think about with your departments as well. My name's Kate Lee. I teach at South Dartmoor Community College. Here we go. So, I've spent a lot of time with Year 11 this year, and I mean a lot of time. And it's too much time, really, because what they shouldn't have needed is me with them at this stage in their school careers. After all, we're talking about students who have had nearly 10 years of English education. And what this quality time has taught me is that actually Year 11 weren't very good at English. And that made me think about why. And some of the answers that I came up with and discussed and shared with the department have led us to make a fundamental change in how we are planning our curriculum over the next few years and for our entire 5-year journey through English. Bruna suggests that any child of any age is capable of complex thought and of understanding complex information. So the best way that I understand this is by an analogy of giving a child a ball. So I've got young children. I can give them a ball and they can throw it, and they learn that the harder they throw it, the faster it goes. They learn that if they kick it on rough ground, it doesn't go as fast. If they drop it from a higher height, maybe it does something different. Now, those are quite complex ideas of force and momentum and acceleration and aerodynamics even, but those are a bit too, those are too hard really for my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old to understand. So does that mean that I take the ball away from them because those are too hard? No, of course not, because that would be ridiculous. But this is what we feel that the recent curriculum in English has done. We feel like it's taken the ball away from students. So things like APP and controlled assessment and our constant focus on the CD borderline, what it's done is it's chunked English up into these tiny little bite-sized chunks that are very easily swallowed and easily digestible. But what has happened is that easily digestible means easily forgotten. And students seem to have forgotten the fact that actually progress in English and learning in English comes from an accumulation of layer upon layer of skills over this time. So you could say that almost that they've dropped this ball and it's broken into these tiny pieces that are too small for them to see the connections between them. So there's no way that they can glue this ball back together because they don't get it. So what we've done to fix this, or what we're trying to do to fix this, is really something that we're very excited about, and it's something that I'm sharing a lot with our college in general. So firstly, there are several elements to it, but firstly, we've designed a curriculum that we hope makes the connections in our ball of English really visible. Key to this is our development of a progress ladder. Now, I am absolutely sure that there are teachers in this room who are sat there puzzling over this sort of thing in departments, because we're changing to new GCSEs, we've got new qualification grades and all of that kind of stuff. And we wanted to really think about, well, what does progress in English actually look like from the end of Key Stage 2 right up until A-level? What does it mean to come in with a skill, and what does that then look like by the time we want them to finish? And so we've unpicked what we think as teachers actually makes progress in English, and we've mapped it back down through, right from our A-level grade descriptors and right up from our Key Stage 2, what we expect them to come in doing. We've retrofitted grades to this, and this is an example of our grade 5 descriptors. We've kind of gone back then to the new grade system, and we've glued these on afterwards. But what it came from in the heart was what we think change in English, progress in English looks like over time. We've also made some changes to our curriculum, and this is on a kind of a macro level and on a micro level. So we've developed, now there's a random transition on this slide that I've forgotten to get rid of, so sorry, it will probably zoom ahead of me. The units of work loosely spiral over the year groups. So we want to, again, make that really clear to students, and we're going to make this visual as well. We were talking today about putting this in the corridor. This is going to be for them to see, that they can see that they do the same things year on year. And we're not doing it because it's boring and it's just you just do one or two things in English. We're doing it because what you do in year 7 in English, doing that thing, is different to what you're doing in year 11 in some ways, but in other ways it's the same. And we need to be accumulating that knowledge. It also works on a micro level, and this is what I'm really excited about. And I've got bit geekily excited about how far we can spread it through the whole school, but I don't know how far it will go, all the way, I hope. And this is my emphasis, or our emphasis, on revision and revisiting learning. Now, we're moving to terminal exam next year. Now, that's a massive deal for us, people who, again, we've chunked up English for ourselves. So we're moving to a system where students will be taking an exam at the end of the year. We need them to be ready for that exam and to be ready to be able to use the stuff that they're doing and carry it along with them. So we've designed, and this reaches all the way back into year 7, that all of our schemes of learning have built-in revision weeks where we teach students explicitly how to revise. So we will have a week of dedicated activities, and those will be spread across the curriculum. Teachers will be doing it how they want to, but students will have physical outcomes of revision at the end of that week that they can then take on and either do testing, which we will be doing in Key Stage 4, or with year 7 and 8, we're actually going to do the revision weeks after they've done their main assessment for the unit, so that they still are aware that those skills are going to be carried forward. And it's it's something that I think, I really hope will work. I want physical outcomes from this. I want students to have folders of English revision materials that they carry right the way through their school career. And I'm a bit metaphor heavy, I can't help myself, but I like to think it's a bit like they're building a set of stairs, and as they get to one step, they then they're gathering the material to build the next step. And so I think, really hope that by doing this, we're giving the students back this glued together ball of Englishness that they can really see the overlaps and the cracks and the gaps in their learning, because by doing that, we're going to make students who are more aware of themselves as English learners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kate. I remember my first teacher meet, there were only 15 people there, and honestly, sweaty and stammering and stuttering, it's a big deal, so thank you very much for sharing, thank you very much. Next up, we have Phil, who's doing 6 quick lesson hacks, he's at Wellsport Phil on Twitter, and we're going to do a different competition as well, where we've got lots of people who are, if you are checking the Twitter feed, you'll see lots of people following us from Swansea, Bristol, Birmingham, Manchester, what have you. So not just sharing ideas here in Tiverton, but further afield. So we're going to offer a prize to those people who are watching. And it is the best tweet from afar, I believe. So there'll be a prize for people out there as well. But enough of me talking, handing that over to Phil. Thank you, Phil.
Hi everyone, my name's Phil Roos and I teach here at Tavistock College in the Humanities faculty. I'm hoping that this presentation will do what it does really and give you a few quick takeaways that actually if you wanted to you could actually introduce with your students tomorrow. First of all, I've been doing quite a lot of work on real world learning in the college, really trying to push a drive on making careers, transferable skills relevant in our lessons, and by far the quickest, easiest way of doing that I've found is utilising a website called icould.com. And what that does, and there are others out there, but what this particular one does is show you videos, really short snippets from people of various skills, and you can really link it in closely to your actual subject matter. So, you know, I did one last week on structural engineering, linking it to my lesson on living with earthquakes in Japan. But what I particularly like to use it is to try and surprise the people. So I think it's very good for some of those subjects where there aren't always those necessarily obvious career links. Subjects like maths, history perhaps, where what you can do is emphasise to the students the skills that they're doing in the lesson. They might not be obvious to the student as being linked directly to a career, but actually those analysis skills, those problem solving, those evaluation of sources skills. And I used a great little clip of a consultant on that website, which seemed quite random, but actually really showed the students how in a completely different setting, skills that they'd been carrying out in that lesson really linked into a career. Secondly, and kind of following on from that, I just think that this visual, which came from Twitter, is a great way of actually all subject teachers, regardless of what faculty area we work in. I don't think there's anything on that we could disagree that would be good to try and encourage our students to develop. Secondly, and I did say these were quite simple lesson hacks, this one that I use quite often is just a way to aid student reflection. And literally I've got a pile of these laminated in the room. And where I think these plenary placemats are really useful is when the students are leading their reflection. They're choosing the question that they might want to actually answer, they're questioning themselves. And I think that one's just a really flexible tool. I'm aware at this stage that Mark has offered you sharks and dinosaurs and unmanned drones, and I've offered you website and a bit of laminated paper. So bear with me at this stage, if you may. Moving on. Number 3, I don't know if people are aware of this website called class.net, but there's loads and loads of just little tools on there, great for your lessons. Does this sound better? Yeah? And the one that I've picked out there is the Facebook profiles, and they've got some pretty obvious uses with sort of Key Stage 3 classes, setting up, famous characters. I use it in a country sense in my geography lessons. But where I was surprised with this one, probably the most powerful use I got out of it was actually with my A2 class, when we were doing some, quite dry stuff actually on sort of geopolitics and looking at OPEC and energy security. And we actually produced one of these between us, and actually getting friends, the recent activity, and the different aspects of Facebook actually really enhanced that lesson in a geography sense, and actually got the students thinking about trickier parts of that topic, really. Moving on, we're part of a cooperative trust here, so the cooperative values, as Cicely's already mentioned, are pretty fundamental to our teaching. And for me, the self-help, the self-responsibility cooperative values are hugely important, and I try to really develop with the students, and still would like them to develop more. But these self-help strategies, these ones I use just with my Key Stage 3 classes, just as a sort of table bookmark type thing, just getting them to look out for other ways rather than straight away asking me or asking another adult in the room. So it's putting the responsibility on them and also their peers. And in a more Key Stage 4 sense, I've sort of taken the same sort of format, particularly with a focus on literacy skills as well as some subject content. So this one is based on our population work. The one thing that I really like, and if you only take one thing from these things today, would be to go back to your classes tomorrow and try and ensure that your students actually fail. And I really do believe that if we're not creating the opportunities in our lessons for students to fail, then we're not doing our job. And to go along with that failure, it's obviously crucial that the students aren't staying in that failed position, but we're producing the support mechanisms and the culture that actually sees the students embrace failure, see it as a positive thing, see it that they're actually learning, new things, they're challenging themselves, and then moving on in their learning. And that to me is what really should be going on in our classrooms. Number 5, I must say here, this is a little tool that I've taken from Twitter. Sometimes it's hard to actually get back to the very first author on some sources on Twitter. And as far as I can tell, as I put in the corner there, a really good account to follow, Amjad Ali, who's a prolific Twitterer. I think I can give him some credit for this. But I've seen various of these kind of review tools that you might get at the end of lessons. But for me, what's good about this one is the actual quality of the activities and how I think there's a really strong learning content to them. So some of them are pretty self-explanatory in terms of students maybe writing a tweet, maybe coming up with some questions for themselves, their peers. The couple I particularly liked were actually nearer the end here, the traffic light system, which was quite effective, and also this one, which I thought was a really simple little way of allowing the students to do that crucial reflection, but particularly looking forward as well. The last one is something that's come back to me this week. I don't know if sometimes you have those strategies you use in lessons that you use a lot, and you almost get to the point you overdo it, and then you kind of forget about it for a few weeks and months. And for me, this is one of those strategies. Whereas a humanities teacher, most lessons there'll be a visual and audio of some sort in there. And I was doing work recently with my geographers on the migration sort of issues in the Mediterranean and some of the pretty shocking scenes that you can see there. And I was following students were almost a bit blasé about it, to be honest, and it was almost possibly because I'd shown them quite a few, and we'd done this topic. And what I actually did was show them a short clip without any sound, and by muting it. And I think kind of picking up on something Toby said earlier about the potential sometimes to overdo questioning, I think sometimes we can almost overstimulate the students in the classroom. And on that occasion, having just some visuals and actually getting the students to think about what was being said, who the people were, the characters in the film, produced some really, really effective learning. I'm going to leave you with a slightly random thought on the board. I'm looking around the room, I'm pretty confident I'm the only person here that's ever had that thought. I should give a bit of context here that I am a new dad, and the last few months, you know, there's actually been quite a few 2 a.m, 5 a.m. feeds when there's been far more random questions than that I've been looking at. And I did, believe it or not, find a chat room conversation about, and there were two people very passionately debating the shape of the beak and the structure of the feathers on the Twitter bird, and I had to really fight myself not to put a comment on there basically saying, what's wrong with you? You're discussing the Latin name of a bird that doesn't have any feet. And, you know, so I'll leave it there. But the point is, I would suggest that the Twitter bird is most definitely a magpie, because all of those resources I've quickly shown you today are either resources I've shared on Twitter or I've benefited from others showing. And if I leave you with just one other thought, is to embrace Twitter, as I know a lot of you do. And let's face it, where else can you find that elusive lesson resource while you're sat on the toilet? Okay, thank you very much.
That was very interesting. Thanks, Phil. I've been told that the microphone is better if you stand in the middle here, apparently. Just one tweet from afar, Nina Jackson at Music Mind has said that if learning was about sharing, then Teach Meet Devon is rocking it tonight, blah, blah, blah. So have a little look. Mark has posed a question to win a signed copy of his book. Elton, you've replied already, but you've already got it, his book. No, I've got an electronic version. Oh, well, sorry, you're void, you were too quick. Look on the hashtag, look for Mark's question. First one to reply gets a signed copy of his book after our next presenter, Karen, who is at KDW Science, is going to use Prezi, so we just need to upload that. Could I ask that you stand up here, though? No? Right, okay, it might, try not to go too far. Phil needed to be on a leash by the looks of where he was going with it. And he's also stolen the clicker because he's not got any in geography to save their budget.
Now I feel really funny. This is where I fall over. I'm the most clumsiest person, and I'm a science teacher as well. Okay, I'm Karen, and I'm a science teacher at Dawlish. I drove like a bat out of hell to get up here, and then found I was on time. So I'm looking for literacy. I'm a director of literacy. It's a really posh name, but it doesn't really mean anything. At my school, as well as being a science teacher. So one of my jobs is to look for literacy across the curriculum. So, ta-da! Does it work? You're going to be more presser. Oh, there you go. See, I thought I was going to be really fun. Do something different first. Try that. That's me. Okay, so what's the definition of literacy? As we all know, it's a noun, and it's the ability to read and write, or test of literacy and numeracy. So it's reading and writing, and in our school, it's more than just writing. It's speaking, listening, understanding, reading, and writing. And we have a problem with 4 out of 5 of those things. Really, if I'm absolutely, totally honest, probably 5. We have very low intake of low ability students, and we really need to address those. So what have we done? We have an appointed member of the SLT whose job is purely to look at literacy across the curriculum. We have appointed 2 directors of literacy that we meet once a week to look at how we are addressing these issues. And we have appointed literacy coordinators in every single faculty. So we're really raising the profile of literacy throughout the whole of the school. As we know, Ofsted, sorry about the O word, but they really want everybody to focus on literacy and numeracy. So we are all teachers of English. So we conducted at the beginning of the year an audit of every single department to try and make sure that we were seeing what great practice was being shared. And actually every single department in our college is doing some amazing stuff. But we wanted to see if they were doing similar stuff or something different. Because what we're finding is students are not taking the skills and moving them across each of the curriculum. They're just taking them, oh, I do that in English, and I do that in geography, and I do that in science, but they're not taking them across each of the topics. So what we tried to do was we tried to build a bank of evidence from each of the faculties. So we have these purple boxes, and we're getting teachers each month to, when they have their faculty meetings, to bring evidence into those faculty meetings to discuss the literacy that's been done within their lessons. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's got to be reams of large amounts of extended writing. It could just be 2 or 3 sentences that somebody has written that shows really good examples of, you know, good structural paragraphs, a good answer to something, so that we've got a bank of evidence. And we have also been creating subject-specific literacy maths so that we're using keywords, reminding children of their structures and using the similar structures that English use. We've got lots of P going on across our school so that the children can see that these are techniques that are cross-curricular. And we have reviewed our literacy and marking policy. Hasn't helped particularly, but we are trying to make that also. What I've been doing particularly, I've been working with Emma Wilkinson and these other 2 ladies, and we've been scaffolding identical questions. Apologies for the photograph. And you can see that on the extended questions, they were particularly very, very good. 6-mark question, getting really 3 lines, really poor, 1 or 2 marks, level 1. But after working with the students and introducing a writing scaffold that I got off Twitter, and training the students on how to use this writing scaffold, breaking down the questions a lot more, we started to build up and get questions that were starting to be written like this. So this was the before. Get 3 lines. The graph shows that heart disease per 1,000 people goes up, and scientists could say now that he needed more accurate results with his results. That got 1 mark. This was the rewritten answer. This mark got 5 marks. So you can see the intensity and the quality of the written answer by showing these children how to use a scaffold. And the idea has been that over this last year, I've slowly removed the scaffold for these lower ability children. And the results from the January mocks was I was getting 5-mark answers. This was after a term of using this scaffold. So I was getting 5, and in fact, this young lady got 6 marks in her answer in her mocks. It was the first time that a set 6 child had got 6 marks in her answer. So the other thing that we've also been addressing is sloppy speech. Okay, Kerry Cullen at TLT 14, she spoke about encouraging children to speak clearly, not getting rid of their dialect, not getting rid of their accent, but using keywords correctly. Not talking about the thingamy-bob that did the what's it with the hoojama-what. And you know what, like when Miss I like put that thingy over there and it connected like the light blue came up. We're actually getting them to talk about adding the connectors in and the voltage went up. So we're using correct speech. And if you want to have a look at Kerry Cullen's blog about some of the literacy work she's been doing, there's loads and loads of amazing stuff that she's done. Oh, the video link didn't work, okay. Also, something that I've been working on, especially with my lower ability, is in line with John Tomset's work that he's been working on with metacognition. One of the problems that our students have is they don't understand the vocabulary behind the examination questions. So they actually don't understand what the question's asking them to do. So we've been doing walking, talking mocks. So we've been talking about what the question means and what the words mean without actually giving them the answers. So we're getting them to think about what the question asks them to do before they answer the question. And this has really helped with their understanding. So I'm not actually giving them the answer to the question, just trying to get them to unpick the question and understand what the question means. And this has really helped them feel more confident, because sometimes they just don't even understand what the question means. So where are we going from here? Next year, we're hoping to open up the school for a literacy morning. We're going to be inviting parents in. We're going to have the first lesson as an introduction to what we've been doing, opening up the school. We're then going to get the parents to do a pupil trail with the children. They're going to sit with the kids and take part in their actual lessons. And there'll be a literacy focus across the school for that morning, very, very specific. And then for the third lesson, we're actually going to do workshops where we're going to help the parents look at literacy strategies that they can use with the students at home to support them in their homework. So it's really trying to engage the parents with supporting the literacy across the school. So it's really trying to get that cross-link, that parental link across. And also working on ensuring we're also going to do some extraction work with our year 10s and 11s, taking them out, which I know lots of teachers hate doing, but removing them from the curriculum and teaching them some independent strategies for linking across the curriculum, away from curriculum time, that they can then use and link those strategies and put the pieces of the puzzle together so that when they come into geography, when they come into history, when they come into English, they can link up their thinking and go, oh, I know that I can use this strategy to help me answer this question, or I know which piece of work I can use, or how to access or unpick this question. So just to finish, that's me. I'm Pt2 Science. Yes, I am still learning because there's an L missing on my blog name, and I'm on Pinterest as well with some great ideas. And just before I finish, I have to say a shout out to Nina Jackson. Hi, I know she's watching, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karen. So a few prizes to give out and what have you. Forgive me if I've got it wrong. I know that Elton was a bit upset. And I have seen the first person to tweet the correct answer to my question using the TM Devon hashtag. I found some people who tweeted me directly, but I'm going to go for the one with the TM Devon hashtag. And that was Kate, who presented before. So you've won a copy of my book. Well done. Thank you very much. Next up, we're going to do the best selfie prize. But I have to say, we found a new category for the worst selfie. So I can't wait to share. Should we do the best or the worst first? You see the worst one, don't you? So now let's see if I can do this right. Let's go for my favourites. Okay, Josh Clark. Where's Josh? Well, Josh, you've won the worst selfie. And applause for Josh. Thank you very much. And as you may have guessed from the tweet you saw at the very beginning there, I'll just scroll through, there's a whole load here. There we go. It's Cicely and Amy. Yes. Best selfie. Well, can we get the prize, please? Thank you very much. As a bag each. There you go. Thank you very much. So next up, Gary, we have Mary. Is it? Yes, now we're running a bit behind on time, so a big R, please, because Gary's going to step down so we can get back on track with timing. So he's very kindly said he'll step down. I think he'll share his presentation later, though, so we can still get some of the energy and winds from it. But next to us, Mary and Cassie, is that correct?
No, I get a lanyard.
All right. And so here's the microphone.
Thank you very much. So first and foremost, I have to disclose that I'm not a teacher. So I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also from Yorkshire. So I'm I've come down here, and I'm now working in the Southwest. But I'm looking forward to this opportunity to share some of the stuff that we're actually doing, bringing psychology into school, really. And I'm working with colleagues over there from Marine Academy Plymouth and CAS. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about just, one thing that you can think about that you might be able to bring into your lives, into your schools, etc. No, that's not mine. Is that Gary's?
Oh yeah, that was mine.
All right, okay, do you want me to do it?
No, wing it.
There we go. All right, okay. So I'm just going to be talking about your brain and the power of our brain and how it can be tricky and how it can cause us problems. So as I say, working with Marine Academy Plymouth. So once upon a time, I was a clinical psychologist who worked in adult mental health in Manchester. And my bread and butter work was actually working with this. People who had got to the end of their tether. And as you progress in your career, you get to work with more and more complex people. So I was working, with people who had suicidal intent, etc. Also working with this, people who become very, very angry. And maybe, in society and not fitting in. Also working with this is what my bread and butter work would be on a daily basis. Working with this. Working with this, working with this, and working with that. And these are the consequences of lives where experiences, we have a tricky brain and then people have experiences, and the combination of tricky brain and experiences cause these types of problems with people. In all of us. So put us under any degree of stress, this is what starts to happen to us. What I also noticed in my clinical work is that if I could say to somebody, actually, was there somebody from your past who treated you with respect, who was interested in you? That, as a clinical psychologist, that is absolute gold dust. If you can find one person who, a person who comes along to see me with all of those problems, that was gold dust because I could build on that. And you know what the one top answer was? If I could identify it, it was staff in schools. And that's not just teachers either. It's a dinner lady, it's somebody who's out there at break time and watching out, it's a teaching assistant. So I was just thinking, as a clinical psychologist, I've got to get in here sooner. I've got to work with younger people so that they don't end up having those significant problems. But I've also got to be thinking about how do we work in schools with teachers so that they can actually think about preventing some of these work. So first and foremost, I would like to say, as somebody who's worked with a lot of people who've had a lot of difficulties, thank you, because you do an amazing job. And you may not realise the impact that you have on individuals when you listen and you treat them with respect and you're interested and you're creative, but it's just incredible. It's incredible. It doesn't mean that somebody doesn't go on to experience depression. It doesn't mean to say that somebody doesn't go on to experience self-harm and things. But what it does, it can certainly sometimes it can prevent it, but it gives you gold dust that you can work on as a therapist. when I'm thinking to myself, right, well, I need to get in there earlier, I need to work in the schools, and I had an opportunity to go into a school to work with the staff and to work with the students, and what did I actually find? I found a great deal of stress with staff. So this is from a paper from an article in The Guardian, just about the degree of stress that you guys are under. And that was that was very hard hitting for me, because I suppose I maybe wasn't as aware of the degree of stress that the staff are under. I also saw a lot of this. So I think that the kids these days are dealing with a whole lot of other stuff that, in actual fact, I didn't have to deal with when I was in school. And it's really, really hard. So one of the things that I started thinking of is, so the first school that I went into, I was asked to go in there 2 days a week, and we had 77 children waiting on the waiting list. You know, when you actually think about that, actually, as a number one, actually they should be getting provision elsewhere in an ideal world, but we know that children and adolescent services are really finding it difficult. So why not? Yeah, great, let's do something in school. But the thing is that I could sit in a room all of the day and I could just see child after child after child after child. And what is interesting, as soon as I see the children, I think, oh, I wish I could see the parents. I wish I could work with them to prevent it. So it's not about actually sometimes about getting younger and younger and younger, it's to get into the parents as well. So I started thinking about, with Kazim and with other people, thinking about, right, well, how do we actually try and develop a whole school approach so that it's not me sitting in a room with students on a daily basis, and then they go away and it's just replaced by another student. So we're trying to build in psychology into the school, and it's a slow process because you guys have got a lot on, and I've only got a minimal amount of time. So I'm just going to talk to you about one thing that's useful for you to be thinking about. One idea. Okay, so this looks a bit complicated, but there's a paper that this is actually based on. And it's by Depuna Monroe-Stravinsky, and it's been developed by an amazing psychologist called Paul Gilbert, who I work with. So this is your 3 circles. And this is, we're thinking about the brain, how your emotions are regulated with each other. This is a heuristic. So what that means is that it's a bit like the London Underground map. London doesn't look like that, but it's a good way of working out your way, navigating around things. In exactly the same way, when I'm working with the kids, I have to say, you don't have 3 circles in your head, but this is a really good way of understanding our brains. And if we can understand our brains and what they're capable of, the difficult stuff as well as the amazing stuff, actually, that is going to unlock well-being. And what better place to do it than in school? So this is one key thing that we're looking at. So just kind of talk you through it. We have a threats system in our brain. This is your default factory setting. Everybody in the room has got this. It's your default factory setting, and it will detect threat. So if you have an appraisal and you have 90 things on that appraisal that are really good, but one thing that's an area for growth or something that you need to work on, where's your attention? It's on that thing. What about if you walk into a room and there's 20 people who are smiling at you and one person who's looking at you in a bit of a sinister way? Where's your attention? It's on that. Your brain is wired to be irrational. It's wired to be. And anybody who tells you different is lying. It's wired to be irrational, and it will detect threat all of the time. So when this system is activated, and we call it the red system, actually what comes out of it is certain emotions. So we have anxiety. So we might get anxious about something. We actually experience anger, some of us, if it's triggered, or disgust will be the primary responses to that. This system is not so good for creativity. It's not so good for learning. It's not so good for pro-social behaviour. When we're under threat, often what we're thinking about is getting away from something or taking it on. So that's our threat system. We've also got a blue system, which is called our drive system. And this is our ability to work towards certain resources. It gives us a buzz. It's associated with dopamine. So if you won the national lottery, any of you, you would have a huge surge of dopamine and your drive system would go off. You'll get lots and lots of ideas. It's highly likely that you won't be able to sleep, and you'll feel really, really positive. And it's a buzzy and it's kind of energizing. Really, really important. This system, as well as kind of like, it's a bit complicated, but this system can sometimes become really, really elevated, and we have hypomania and mania. Or sometimes we know that people who are depressed, this system seems to collapse. And some people will really, really work by just push, 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 threat, push, threat, push, threat, push. Anybody know that cycle in the room? It's a bit of a problem for us, but we've got this system which is really, really important. So this is the third system, it's the green system, and it's about contentment, soothing. And this system, research suggests, actually helps regulate these two, helps us regulate. In this system, you feel content. So it's different. These two are positive emotional states, but this one is with safeness. It's calm. It's reflective. When you're in this circle, you're more able to what we call mentalize. So you're more able to think about what's in another person's mind, the impact of your behavior on others. You're more creative, better memory. There's all sorts of studies that suggest that when you're working on this system, can have a massive impact on performance within sports. It can have a huge impact on your immune system, all sorts of things. Now, so these are really, really important. The brain is developed over a stupid amount of time, and it's developed these three systems that are really, really important. We don't want to get rid of this one. We don't want to get rid of that one. Certainly don't want to get rid of that one. But which two systems do you think that Western society is stimulating? Yeah. So threat, drive. My friend did a marketing degree. One of the first things that she was told, one of the golden rules, point out a threat, give a solution. Fine lines and wrinkles, anybody? Dull lifeless hair? What do you think happens within the NHS? Where do you think that the NHS kind of, what two systems are going on in the NHS quite a lot? Threat and drive. You know, I've got colleagues who work in services where the scores on their outcomes are on the doors as they walk into the service. And they've got to perform, and then the drive, and then it's back here, it's back here. But what is happening to this one? Now, there's all sorts of things that you can do to actually access this one. So mindfulness, for example, breathing exercises, people just becoming aware of it and developing a positive relationship with themselves. Instead of a critical hostile one, because when you're critical of yourself, it stimulates this. So what we're doing is we're developing it. So we're thinking about the teaching staff, because if I was up here and I was in this system, my talk would be very different. I'd be very threatened. I wouldn't be able to think, I wouldn't be able to reflect as much. So we're working on this one, as well as on this one and this one as well. So within kind of like often what we're talking about is just threat, drive, soothing. We're thinking about these things. What system am I in? What is it helpful to be in? So we've done it, we've actually looked at, these are year 7s that we've been working with and talking about their systems. So they've nicely put Buzz Lightyear over here, to infinity and beyond. Over here, they decided not to put Woody because Woody was plotting his downfall, in actual fact. So they put the class group as being maybe a source of soothing, maybe a source of friends and family and things like that. These were our year 11s who at the time, kind of like this is Facebook guy, this is Zuckerman, that they put over there. We've got all sorts of interventions in different schools, like we've got in primary schools putting 3 circled mats on the floor, one red, one blue, one green, and the kids go and sit on those different mats. We've got breathing exercises that we do with the kids and with the staff as well. So it's bringing the 3 circles into so that we can actually use our brain to full capacity. Because if we're just relying on that and that, we're not. Actually, this is the creativity, all of the memory functioning actually increases and all sorts of things in that. So just finally, this is kind of like, because I'm so down with the kids, this is my, how I talk about it with the kids. So anybody disagree that this is a mobile phone? This is a mobile phone, isn't it? But what is amazing about this mobile phone is I can switch the app on it, and then what I can do is I can take photos of you guys. And then what I can do, really scary, is I can upload them on Facebook and I use it in a different way. So if I was doing that, I'd do it like that. And then I can put headphones in it, put it in my pocket, and I'll listen to music. Still a phone, it's got different apps. So what we talk about in school is actually getting into the right app for the right thing. Now, if I was walking down the street, obviously, and somebody was racing after me, I need to be in the threat app. I do need to be in that, but that's not the app that I need is best for learning. So we've got Drive app here, we've got Threat app, and we've got Soothing app. So, and we talk with the kids about switching app. So if you have little tips, like if there's been a conflict between the kids, actually you're talking to Threat Brain often about the argument. So it's helpful to do something to get them into Soothing, and then have a discussion, because they're more able to empathise, mentalise, all of those sorts of different things. It is difficult, but this is what we should be, in my view, this is what we should be teaching kids in school from a psychology. Let's know about your brain. Let's really know about your brain and how it works. And also the staff as well, because I think that you guys are in Threat and Drive quite a lot. And the question is what do you do to counteract that? Because in actual fact, if you spend a little bit of time actually soothing, and you find a way of actually doing that, it actually makes you more productive. It helps out in things. It makes you more creative at all sorts of different things like that. So obviously, now you know this, you all live happily ever after. But it's important, and I want to, one of the messages I wanted to take this opportunity to say, and I think I've said it, but I'm going to say it again, is thank you from all of those people, and all of those kids that you won't see again, but you've had an impact with. But think about how you can maybe incorporate some of these things into your work. Thank you.
Thanks. Someone did ask on Twitter if you're on. Are you?
If you look at Compassion in Mind.
Compassion in Mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm apophobic.
You're apophobic.
Twitter-phobic.
Okay. Don't be Twitter-phobic. That concludes the presentations. However, we have a few more prizes. I know we've slightly run over, but these things happen, I'm afraid, when it's this good. And that wasn't in a sarcastic way, or that may have come across like it. The best tweet from afar, I would say, should be for not only talking about having ice cream in the garden, but now saying, listening to Teacher Meet Devon Welp's cooking tea, many talents. And that is Simon Johnson, that's at CLC Simon. So well done. I'll get a bag in the post to you, and enjoy your tea as well, and perhaps you can tweet us a picture of it. I'll hand over to Mark to finish off with a few little bits and bobs, and then I'll say a few thank yous.
Thank you. Two things really. One, the prize for the sort of pen and tweets. Thank you to those of you who've done those. There are 3 prizes there, and I'll do this in just a second. But just a reminder about that legacy prize. It's lovely, using simple technology. It's a lovely Kindle device that you can see down here. Okay, for the best blog sent across to Gary before the end of the academic year. Okay, so a fantastic prize from Class Charts there. But thank you for those of you who sent your pen and tweets. And so first up then is Rachel Kidson. Rachel. And well done. My handwriting is not pretty. It's not always this entirely. It's definitely not perfect, but it is me, and it is pink. One of those back there, thank you, Rachel. Next up is Miss Friend. I am feeling rather inspired. Can't wait to get back to CPS and bring some of these. I've got the rest of it. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then finally, Laura Passon. Nice little picture of a heart there. Even I recognise that. Well done. Getting right to the heart of it at TM Devon. So that's Laura. There you go, brilliant. What are you about those?
That's a good thing.
Were they not the same as well? We just did.
No, they are.
It's been bonkers. Honestly, I tweet a lot. If you follow me, you know I tweet a lot. But it's been bonkers here tonight. Honestly, it's like it's been crazy.
We have 3 bike slides.
We have 3 bite slide premium accounts. Should we give those to the pen and tweet ones?
Yeah.
You've got 3. Okay, so the 3, come back up please, and you can have one of these as well. So Bite Slide have awarded, given us some vouchers for their products, which is a cool presentation tool, apparently. There's one for you. Sorry, there's one for you, thank you very much. Right, so that's just me now. I'm going to hand over back to Gary. Thank you. I'll just say thank you, everybody. I had a really good time.
Thank you very much. I won't keep you any longer. I'd just like to thank our sponsors, Randstad, who are at the back. Thank you for the refreshments, brilliant. Class Dojo, I better not forget anyone here. And I Remind HQ, look them up, please. Kahoot, or Get Kahoot, Class Charts and Bite Slide. I'm not going to thank everyone individually. It's been epic, it's been emotional, and it will happen again next year. Have a safe journey home, and thanks for watching, everyone.
And the